So the first move is the 100. So you're going to lie on your back with your knees bent. Now, if you're a complete beginner, never done this before, you might find that your chin might lift a little bit. So use a book or a block underneath your head to help you feel that your chin is slightly down, but the back of the neck stays long. Because you find that if you don't use something like that, or a blanket can work as well, a rolled up blanket or a towel. If you find that you don't use something like that and if your chin lifts a lot, then you'll find that your neck will tighten and your back will arch, and you'll start to lengthen here in the abdominals, and in the ribs will start to lift, and the connection here will be completely lost. Your back will be tight and your neck and your shoulders will just feel awful. And then you won't do it again. And then you'll say, Pilates is rubbish. Really? I've just told you how to fix it. So having something underneath there might be all that you need for you to feel your neck long. And then allow the lower back to flatten and then arch in lower back just behind the navel and just above the navel. 5 bones in your lower back. So allow it to flatten and allow it to arch. And you might notice that your head will start to move anyway. As you do that, that corresponding move going all the way up into your neck. And you'll find that it will just settle. And maybe you might not need that. If you do, then leave it there. So all you're going to do is notice one foot and pick up one foot off the floor. Just notice which part of your foot you lift first. And you're going to see if you can float your knee back towards you. And then you're going to put your foot back down. Easy, yes? And then you're going to change sides. So let's pick up this foot. Which part of your foot lifts first? And you float your foot and then come back down. So if you find that by floating your foot, your chin starts to lift and you've taken your book or your block or your blanket away, bring it back. It's just your brain's way of saying, we've got some weight going on here, lifting up the leg. What's going on? I need to stabilise, and it's going to your neck. Okay, so I quite like to have the palms facing the ceiling. I find that when people tend to set the hands down, they tend to grab at the ground. So relaxing your arms, your shoulder blades feel the same. I find that I tend to lift my heel first, and then the rest of the foot follows, and then the knee lifts. And then it comes back down. Now you can do a little bit of an experiment here, and you can put your hands on your pelvis. You can find the front of your pelvis where your hip bones are, and just see if your pelvis kind of tilts from one side to the other when you're lifting your foot. So come back to that starting leg, see what happens when you lift that leg, and then bring it down, and then see what happens when you lift the other leg and bring it down. Do you find that it tends to do this? What happens to your knee? If you've had any surgeries or got any scars going on here in your abdominals, or if you hold your breath on one side, you've got tightness on one side, you might find that it's quite tricky for your pelvis to stay stable. So let's focus on the breath. So take a deep breath in. So pick up your foot, take a deep breath in. We're going to hold the leg up here. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more, breathing in. And as you breathe out, let the foot come back down to the floor. Rest there for a moment, noticing your feet. Okay, so is your head okay? Is your neck feeling long? Your shoulders on the floor? Can you peel the other foot off the floor and float that up? And taking a breath in. And breathe out, hold the leg there. Breathe in. Breathing out. So looking at this right angle here at the knees. There's a tabletop here. Imagine you've got little coffee cups on that shin. Now the next time you breathe out, let that foot come back down. Control it. And then let it go. And that is, for me, I find that if somebody's had some issues going on in their belly, or even in their back, if they've had any surgeries along in their back here, or if they tend to clench their jaw, or breath holders, or tend to really tighten up in their hips, really taking it back, paring it back was what I was thinking of, paring it back and taking it down to the simplicity of the move and bringing it down to the really fine basics. And even you could even pare it back even more by just noticing your feet and just feeling that you're about to lift the leg. So as you're about to lift up one foot, which part of the foot is going to lift first? Where do you feel you're creating too much effort? Where are you going and holding too much effort? And so can you reduce the effort and reduce the clenching in order to feel that you're going to float the foot as if the leg is completely weightless. And if you put your hand here behind your lower back and feel that you're pressing down into the floor slightly, slide your hand to the back of your pelvis and let the femur sink down into your hand. So think of your femur, the longest bone in the body, excuse me, is sinking down into your pelvis as if it's trying to touch your hand. And then float your foot. Oh, doesn't that feel different? And then come back down. Or you can leave it there for a few breaths. So I would say 2 to 3 breaths and then float the foot back down. And then you can put the hand on the other side behind the pelvis. Imagine your femur is longer than you think it is and it's sinking down into your hand. And notice where on this side you're going to float the foot off. Where does it lift first? And how does that feel when your femur feels longer? Can you hold your leg there for a few breaths? Still keeping that length of the femur. And then come back down. And when you land, which part of your foot lands first? Nice. And that is a nice, simple, easy way, but more a focused way of the first move in the Pilates repertoire. Good word, repertoire. The 100. Thank you for practicing.